Your scalp, neglected, scrubbed, suffocated, and sprayed, yet it's the soil of your soul's garden. What if the secret to luscious, radiant hair wasn't in a bottle, but in how you treated the skin beneath it? It's time to let your hair down. We're getting into the roots today. Literally. In this episode, I'm joined by the legendary Linda Kammins. She's a holistic hair healer, product formulator, and the kind of hairdresser who might just ask how your nervous system is doing before she cuts your bangs. From ditching commercial conditioner to lathering in meteorites, yes, meteorites, Linda's career has been one long love affair with nature, energy, and the living consciousness of hair. We get into scalp microbiomes, the lies of the clean beauty label, and why letting your hair get a little dirty might actually be your best move yet. So if you've ever stood in the shampoo aisle wondering what's actually clean or dreamed of hair that didn't need fixing every 3 weeks, this one's for you. Please hit subscribe. It's time to brush up on beauty the bioharmonic way. Enjoy. Welcome to the Dean's List, engaging conversations at the intersection of entrepreneurship, artistic expression, and holistic health. Experience wellness in full color, where fashion, beauty, and art blend with body, mind, and soul. Embark on a journey that dresses your aspirations in style, paints your life with beauty, and sculpts your well-being in every dimension. This is the Dean's List, where inspiration is always in session. Welcome to the Dean's List, where wellness meets artistry and innovation meets intention. I'm your host, Alison Dean, and today I'm joined by a true pioneer in holistic beauty. She is the legendary Linda Kammins. With over 30 years in the industry, Linda has earned a loyal following through her signature aromatherapy treatments, her fiercely clean approach to beauty, and a philosophy that sees hair not just as something you style, but something that you respect. From her Los Angeles salon to her line of bioharmonic products, Linda has challenged mainstream norms, ditching conditioner, elevating scalp health, and reminding us that nature still knows best. In this episode, we explore her journey and the deep wisdom she brings to every strand that she touches. Hi, Linda.
Love the introduction. Hello, Alison. Thank you for having me on.
All right. So I think to kick things off, I want to understand what made you interested in hair.
It started young. My grandmother and mother are Spanish, and we grew up with hair was meant to grow very long. We had it down to our butts. You were never supposed to cut it. And there is a reverence for hair. It was important as far as my lineage went. When I was 17, I couldn't wait to cut it off. And I think my grandmother didn't talk to me for 3 weeks. But wow. She was also the woman who raised me while my mother was working and raised my sisters and I. And she was very much into everything natural, herbs, the whole bit. And I just instinctively, that was just it for me. I really related to that, far more than my mother did, And I started making potions when I was a kid. I don't know. I think sometimes when we're young, we already know what we're going to do. It's kind of interesting. As a teenager, I was making makeup for my girlfriends using my mother's old lipstick and putting it together with Vaseline and, and putting little, little kits, so people could have their lip gloss. And I was very much into beauty from the very beginning. And my sisters all got into the fashion and beauty business too. We were all obviously persuaded. I don't really know how, but we all were.
Right. Do you think it was that sort of influence from those around you that really formed the perspective that you had around hair as living consciousness? Because I feel like you hold hair in a certain regard. So it came from them.
I think it rooted itself there. No pun intended. Haha. But anyway, I just remember when I got into the business, highly sensitive to chemicals. I had really bad allergies growing up. So beauty school was pretty much a nightmare. And I thought, there is no way that beauty has anything to do with this horrible, horrible smell that you find in the beauty industry. It just didn't equate to me. It was like eating perfume, hair is, I always thought of it as a living fabric, and it does respond to touch and your thoughts. It does respond that way. And, when people say I have a bad hair day, and it's usually when they have a hangover,
I'll have to pay attention to that.
Right. There's all kinds of significance to hair being your power and how it shows on people. Like they say, when you get really frightened, your hair falls out, or in surgery or anything. So the hair really responds to the nervous system, and it responds to your thoughts.
Okay. So all this influence that was happening, you go through beauty school, you recognized that things weren't really in alignment, the smells, the chemicals, all of that stuff.
It's surprising I got through beauty school, because I refused to do it. Yeah. I just said, I'm not doing this. So I had to learn everything. I don't even know how I passed the test because I just did not want to do any of it. And it's interesting when you're young, your clients are young. So I didn't really think about hair color until a little bit later. But I was really into mixing berries and hennas and doing things like that. Nobody else was doing that because it wasn't chic. People did colors. That was really chic. That was really happening. But I thought, why do you want to damage the hair like that? It's this beautiful fabric. The way I was brought up with the long hair, and you care for it, you love on it. And I just couldn't relate to the modern perspective of beauty.
And that's what prompted you to start the salon, because you wanted to create an environment where you didn't have to do the conventional, what was taught in beauty school approach. You realized that there was kind of an opening for something more holistic.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? Was it frightening to kind of go down that path? I don't know if you were the first one, Linda, but I feel like maybe you were in Los Angeles to really open a place for this.
It was very authentic to me, but then it became a trend for the beauty business to go natural. And I did get a lot of attention in the beginning because I went aromatherapy, and nobody even knew what that was, back when I opened my store in 87, it's like aroma what, It's a very interesting long story about having to educate people on natural because people didn't understand that, They just knew they liked the results. Their hair was looking better, feeling better. And it brought me into getting very disappointed with a lot of name brand product. And then down the road, also finding out that shampoos cause cancer because of a byproduct. It was the petroleum derivatives and the surfactants they were using were causing a byproduct. I'm like, what? I thought shampoos would be pretty innocent. I just didn't realize how bad things could be in those products, not to mention color, just right. So I always had a passion to find a way. And many, many years later, I did find a way.
When you first opened your salon, what treatments were you doing? You weren't doing color yet?
I was doing color for a while, but I didn't like the peroxide ammonia colorings. I found out later about plant enzymes, but I found out also how difficult they were to work with. And it took me a while. I had to come up with some ideas to make it work. No one ever showed me that, but I had to develop these panels so I could press the color against the hair so it would take. And it worked really great once I figured it out. But nobody's teaching that. Nobody's telling you about that. Yeah, it was different.
You need to be doing that, Linda. You need to be teaching all the people
I did that
about
for
this.
many, many years. Kind of retired from that part.
Where are the people now that can do this, Linda? We need backup Lindas.
I honestly tried to teach. And I think it's like when you're an artist and you try to teach somebody to be an artist like you, it never works. All the little details, all the things you don't think about show up in their mistakes when they try to copy what you're doing.
Right.
But, I think down the road, as far as hair color is concerned, I think we're going to be learning how to reverse color. And I think that's been kept out of the news and our awareness for a long time because of the billions and billions of dollars in the hair coloring industry. Yeah. But there have been some interesting things that have come about that I've heard of. And I really tried to find out more. And it's, they don't want you to know, when it comes to that.
They definitely don't want you to know. Yeah, that's true. So one of the biggest challenges you think was just the educational piece. So getting people to really understand the value of holistic hair care.
I never had a problem finding clients. People always wanted that. from the very beginning, even back in the 70s, people wanted that. And there was always people coming to me. I was always busy because there's so many people that are looking for that. I think most people are looking for that. If they had a choice, they would choose it.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Can you tell us what bioharmonic products are?
The product is more natural, where the bio comes in. The harmonics comes in to how you can make a product, blend materials together without having to use preservatives and such. And so it's a product that blends well together, that doesn't break down, and understanding exactly what that is and what will break down a product. I think preservatives aren't necessarily necessary at all. I found that they're just about mummifying a product and making it look good on a shelf for a long time, but not about keeping a product stable and healthy and active and nutritional for your hair.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So all of your products are bioharmonic.
Mm-hmm. I mean, all my skincare and body care is literally edible. And I even saw somebody who was interested in learning what I was doing. He wanted to make product like that. And he ate my product. I couldn't believe it. He was putting it in his mouth and he was like, oh, these are natural. It was very funny. I never ate my products, but it was interesting to see somebody do that.
Wow.
I guess he really wanted to know,
Which product was it?
The skincare, the oils and the ointments and the scrubs that I have for the skin.
He just ate all of it?
He took like a teaspoon of everything. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was very strange. I've never seen anybody eat product. When it came to the shampoo, I had to come up with something a little bit more sophisticated because we want performance. We want our hair to lather. We want to get rid of the dirt buildup. And there is no herbal product that will take out residue out of your hair like that. So I learned a lot. It took years because most chemists were doing the old way. It's kind of like a doctor going homeopathic. Nobody understood what I was talking about. And I finally did meet the right people. Finally was shown that it could be possible. So there are some synthetic products that can be mixed with natural product and do a wonderful job and not be harsh on the hair at all.
How do we find those?
I'm not looking for them.
Right.
I just make them.
Basically, just buy your stuff and then you're doing okay. Right.
Well, I haven't used anything else for, 35 years. I mean, I only know my own product. But what I can tell you, if people are out there looking for product, a smell is a dead giveaway. Smelling a product.
Like if it smells artificial.
Yeah, smells artificial,
Right.
And the things that I found out in the early days that chemists were telling me is like how, oh, no, you need these materials, you need this and you need that. And I didn't find that. I did not find that at all. I found out that simple, basic, synthesized materials could be made with natural product and you would have a beautiful product. So I had to go down all the years and of coming to that understanding.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It really is interesting. Okay. People say you should brush 100 strokes a day. I don't think they're talking about people like me with curly hair, but I think you recommend something more than that. Talk a little bit about that.
I came to some really interesting understanding about the brushing. I mean, over the years, I'm always evolving and changing the way that I approach these things. And definitely during the shutdown during 2020, when I was home all the time, I just let my hair get so dirty. It was the best thing ever to let your hair get really dirty. Like today, I washed my hair before coming here and I brushed it 100 times because it was so oily and was wonderful and it's good for it. And if you don't have any stuff in your hair and if you keep your hair trimmed regularly, then it's the best thing. But what happens to a lot of people is they have stuff in their hair or their hair's too dry and trying to brush 100 strokes just kind of pulls their hair out and doesn't work well. But I do find that letting your hair get really dirty is probably the best move anybody can make to really refortify their hair. Right. And I was really into that the last 2 years I was at the salon. I was having people do that and there was results and people saw more hair. And I think that we overwash our hair, and that's one of the big problems. And some people have to, but anytime you get to not wash it, I would just recommend not washing it.
Why do people think that they need to wash their hair every day?
It's part of the trend. I mean, back in the 90s, I washed and blew my hair dry every day, And
Uh-huh.
also when you're younger, your hair gets oily faster, so people can't relate to letting their hair get dirty that long.
Yep.
However, there was a study in France, and
Hmm.
that's where I found out about it. And these people were going a long time. They're kind of like that anyway. The French don't, wash their hair all the time or shower constantly. But all of this is worth it because we have a microbiome on our skin and in our hair, and we need to help produce it, to help it to renourish the garden that's growing out of our head,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
without the right soil, things don't grow well.
Okay, wait. I want to go back for a second because, I mean, of course, when I came to see you,
Mm-hmm.
we would brush my hair out before like a treatment, but I wasn't brushing my hair out every day because, curly girls, then you really have to wash it.
Mm-hmm.
So, for all my fellow curly gals out there who also want to make sure that they're maintaining scalp health and doing all the right things, are they only brushing before they're washing their hair? Is that the approach?
Yes, that's the approach.
Okay.
It's like that's when you really give yourself a good brushing. That makes a lot more sense. But if
Yep.
you have product on your hair, that doesn't work out so well. So then
Well,
I
like,
would recommend that massaging the scalp really good and trying to move the oils through your hair without brushing through it. Just stimulating it and doing the best you can with that.
like
Yeah.
if you're someone that has a lot of like gel and mousse in the hair, and so you're saying like brushing that out would just be
Right.
problematic. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So,
Right.
okay, a good scalp massage, not quite the same, but still doing something.
Right. I have a few products, like I have a hair tonic that helps close the cuticle. And
Mm.
it's something that's used after the hair is washed. And that doesn't interfere with brushing through your hair when the time comes because it's not leaving a sticky substance on the hair
Hair.
shaft.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I need
Mm-hmm.
to replenish my hair tonic. Okay. Are you also not into conditioner?
The thing is that most conditioners that were very commercial and that I had worked with in the past were made with fabric softening ingredients, so it over softens the hair, and the hair needs to have a tensile strength. So too
Yes.
much of a fabric softener on it can actually make it too stretchy. A lot of people can have their hair fall out from this. There have
Yep.
been popular products on the market, which were shampoo and conditioner in one. And that's probably the worst thing because that really damages the microbiome. So
Right.
it's too alkaline. You need a pH product, that is suitable for the scalp and hair. And I do have a conditioner. I call it a rinse, but it's not made in the way that these other conditioners are. It's made to hold the pH balance, to not interrupt the tensile strength of the hair so that the hair stays firm and strong.
What ingredients should people be, I mean, outside of just buying your conditioner, your rinse, but if they're like at home and they're looking at their products and going,
Well, the best
whatever,
thing to do, I think, to look up cancer-causing ingredients in beauty product, and there's an entire list. Check that out. That's the
right.
best way to look at it. There's no one ingredient that
So many
causes anything. It's usually the byproduct, and that can be avoided. I've avoided it in mine, and it turns out really well. You don't have to put in a petroleum derivative to preserve it. You don't have to do these things. It's all a conditioning. No pun intended.
now.
I had to learn the possibilities. And I would say that I kind of change my mind on things probably every 5 years. I keep learning more, and it brings a new perspective into my learning.
What was the most recent sort of shift that you had where something changed for you in what you were thinking?
Brushing the hair every day.
Oh, so that's not something that you've held for a long time. Oh, that's interesting.
I
Okay.
thought it was important, and I realized that actually letting your hair get dirty and then brushing it was far more important, right?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Not doing
Yeah,
it every day.
right.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about shungite because I feel like there's people that don't know what it is, but also you have a product that contains shungite. So, can you share a little bit about what shungite is first, and then we'll talk about how you've incorporated it into your products?
It's a 2 million-year-old meteorite that hit the Karelia part of Russia.
Uh-huh.
And I'm certain that that meteorite made big grooves, and that's how they got their rivers and lakes. But Throughout hundreds of years, people have talked about how those rivers and lakes healed their body. And what is embedded in the shungite is buckyballs or fullerenes. They're actually six-sided shapes like a soccer ball.
Okay.
And those shapes have antiviral, anti-electromagnetic. They protect your body. In fact, I'm wearing a shungite necklace and bracelets. I have bracelets on. But shungite's very protective of the body. And in the shampoo, it's like, this is your antenna. You get shungite in there. It just like keeps the clarity happening, And it's not anecdotal. It's a truth. If people did a research on shungite, they would find out. I made a shungite body soap too. And it's like kind of nice to have your hair, your body and your hair moved with shungite. And there are people who are making a nutritional product called C60. Have you heard of that? C60?
Oh, yes, I have. Yeah.
So that's industrial made fullerenes. These are natural. And I think it's the only place on the planet, the only material that carries fullerenes that came from outer space, unless it's made an industrial product.
I feel like everyone is racing to your website to add shungite shampoo to their shopping carts now. They're like, okay, favorite. That sounds like I need that. Yeah. Is there a conditioner too, or just the shampoo?
Not shungite. No, I don't need to mix it into the conditioner. Only the shampoo.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. You spoke a little bit about hair color. Yeah. What do you wish more people understood about the health effects of hair color?
I think everybody kind of gets it, I mean, anybody who's coloring their hair, I don't think anyone's satisfied with what hair color is providing. I mean, you lose the luster and the shine, but also hair color can be pretty bad for you. It's not a healthy thing. I mean, hairdressers generally die young, there's chemicals, But like I said earlier, and this is the research I'm really into, is how to turn the WINT system back on. It's an acronym for an electrical system that's at the root of your hair that stops functioning. And that's the thing that brings the melana up into the root and gives you color. And there was somebody who had figured it out. I was told about it. And I later found out that he couldn't talk about it, so maybe he got visited by the Clairol police or something. There's just far too much money in it. But I really feel like we're at the precipice of all that changing now. That awakening to human health, awakening to what good foods actually are or what's in packaged food. We're all starting to wake up to that. And I feel like it's a people's movement now. And maybe actually all those things will come back to us and make it possible to do something interesting to get those things to function again.
When I came to see you for color, before the color piece, you would also put something on our scalp, wouldn't you?
I use a special oil on the scalp to protect the scalp when you're doing color.
I feel like you should sell that to other hairdressers.
That's a really frustrating one because for one, it's all these little subtleties. It's like being a chef, and you can't really teach it. I mean, if somebody does it wrong, it could be wrong, And I really think that we need to move past this chemical coloring stage and into what really works, and maybe in 6 months I'll have more answers, when it comes to that, because this is something I'm looking at and I really think it is possible. I think it's possible for us to regenerate a lot more than we think we can too, I mean,
I like that.
It's just crazy. I mean, you can hypnotize someone to thinking they're younger and it actually works. And there have been studies and their hair comes back darker, and we are the computer. We are the thing. And that's why hair has consciousness and thought affects it.
So at this stage, for people, I mean, that maybe are not going to wait 6 months to hear your update. Really, the only natural options for people are the hennas, or I remember there was a product that I was using for a while that you told me about, right?
I forgot about that product too. Yeah.
Yeah. Part of the struggle too is a lot of it just doesn't work on gray hair. So if you have graying hair,
it doesn't penetrate the hair cells. The enzymes were interesting because they opened the cuticle, color got deposit, and the cuticle will close again. So there can be a more natural catalyst, and maybe there can be a way to do this in a better way. Oftentimes, the tint itself will have a lot of ammonia and chemicals in it that are bad for you. So the whole thing needs to be looked at in a new way and redone. And people have tried, believe me, I've seen everything. I have looked at everything.
Okay.
And I haven't found anybody who's done it well yet. But like I said, maybe in the near future, we will have really good ideas. Maybe something that will be in a package that somebody can do themselves. It only makes sense to me that it could happen.
There's like something that I think an Italian product, Arete Beauty. Have you heard of this?
I've never heard of it, but you should forward it to me.
Okay, I'll forward it to you. Yeah, I'd be curious what you would say about it. Yeah, Arete. I don't know. Because honestly, like the last couple times I've done color, and it's apparently a natural line. The way that my scalp feels pissed. The last time I had like little scabs, or it felt like it was like scabby. I was like, okay, I can't keep doing this. This is not.
Does your hair feel rough when you're done? Does it have a rough texture, or does it feel smooth?
I mean, anytime I leave after like getting it washed out and everything, I mean, I never really have a good like hair day after, you know what I mean? Like it's never like, oh wow, your curls are looking great. So
that's right. Yeah, because what we're working with most of this product is something that's clean to the surface. So there are like low volume peroxides, which is probably what burns your scalp. And then it's metallic salts. So metallic salts, like under a microscope, they're like little razor blades hooking into your hair. And that's how it's giving you color. They call that natural. I don't see that as natural. Maybe slightly less toxic, but I would imagine that if there were a product out there, that it would be something that would easily open the cuticle and allow a natural pigment to be absorbed. And then you have to get into natural pigments, and what are natural pigments, and what is natural melanin? Like squid has natural melanin, right?
Okay. Yes.
There are ideas. I feel really good about the idea that we're going to see something in the future that will be like perhaps something that you can use on your head that anybody could put on and it just does its thing. In fact, it was years ago, the one I was talking about earlier, the guy that got hit up by the Clairol police, he was on like Discovery Channel, and this was probably the 90s.
Okay.
And all my clients were asking me, did you see this guy? Did you see this guy? Because he had something that reversed gray. And I thought, no, oh my gosh, I want to see it. But, we didn't have computers in those days. And anyway, but I did have a client who was a doctor. And I think 4 years later, she found out who he was. And I got his phone number, and he was in Manhattan, New York. And I called his office. And that's when I found out, how paranoid he was, So I told his secretary what it was about, and she was taking a long time to get back to the phone. And that's when you're paying for long distance. I'm like, what's going on here? This is taking forever. But when she got back on the phone, she was kind of upset. And she says, I can't talk to you. And I hear a guy in the background go, just hang it up. And I thought, oh my God, he got threatened. You cannot bring something like this to the market. Literally billions of dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about how many things. It's not just the hair world, but how many things get held back because you have to have a crutch. You have to have a crutch in this world,
Yeah. That is so true. Okay, I also want to talk about heat styling. I don't have this sort of in my life because if I blow dry my hair, it's not very fruitful. What do people need to understand about the blow dryers and the effect that a blow dryer can have on hair, scalp, etc.?
Exactly. It has to do with the harsh air that comes out of it. And usually blow dryers that are made, like I've never found a travel blow dryer that worked. They're always made very cheaply. And that kind of heat just really destroys your hair. In fact, I've gotten people back in terrific shape. They go on vacation, take their crappy blow dryer, and come back and their hair is destroyed again. And a lot of people don't know it's their blow dryer destroying their hair. They just think it's their hair. So there are some differences. My favorite was the NuMe blow dryer. It has infrared light. You have to get a high wattage, because high wattage is important.
Okay.
And ceramic, trilurmine. Those are kind of the materials that you want to look for in a blow dryer,
Okay.
And I was impressed with the NuMe blow dryer and the infrared light. And it blow dries really beautifully without damaging the hair and made with the right materials.
Right. NuMe?
Yeah, NuMe.
NuMe.
Uh-huh.
Okay. It's a new
Yeah,
me.
I
You'll
know,
have a
new me.
Okay, I mean, that is interesting. People need to be mindful of this because over time, what happens if someone continues to use an inferior blow dryer? Are they losing hair? Okay,
And you can
they
lose
can.
hair from it too. It's an electromagnetic heat you don't want on your body. It's like those blow dryers that they'll have in a gym, so that you can use it, or, in hotel rooms, they'll give you a blow dryer, but they're always really awful, and a lot of people don't know that it's really important to have a healthy blow dryer. And there's very
Mm,
few of them.
well, that might make it easier then. If there's very few of them, then it
No,
narrows
it's
down your choices. Perfect. Is that, do you think, one thing that people are doing that's like maybe one of the bigger mistakes that people could be making in terms of something that's quietly damaging their
oh
hair?
yeah.
Or is there something else where they don't realize they're doing quiet damage over time to their
Well,
hair?
you want a shower filter. I mean, that's really important, right?
Shower filter. Yeah, for the
Shower
chlorine
filters
and
keep
everything else.
keep the chlorine out of the hair. And,
Mhm.
people who are swimming, that's pretty rough, and getting all that and also absorbing it through your body. There's
Yeah.
so many bad habits out there that are natural, what everybody does, like a normal thing that, if you want to be more aware of those things, then you can definitely make the changes and you'll definitely see the difference.
Right. Okay. So, one of my favorite things that I miss every day was your oil treatment. So,
Exactly.
you had an oil treatment, it
Yeah.
was life changing. I mean, if you've not experienced the Linda Kammins oil treatment, I feel like you've definitely missed something. But can you talk a little bit about what that was and why oils for the hair are such a nutritious thing for people to
Yeah.
do?
I started the oil treatments back in the 80s, and people were using a lot of product on their hair in those days. That's probably the
Yep.
worst thing ever is when you're always having product on your hair and never not having product on your hair. So essential oils are very, very interesting. I mix them with nut oils, and I'm always looking for the most interesting combination of oils to help remove the synthetic buildup from the hair and help the elasticity to come back. So a lot of the treatment was about removing this stuff from the hair and hydrating it and bringing the elasticity back, which was so important. It gets the dead skin cells off your scalp and it helps to rejuvenate the hair and scalp and it makes the hair happy. And yes, I don't know if other salons are doing it. I haven't heard of it, but you can do your own. You can buy oils and give yourself a treatment, or you have a party with a bunch of girls and you guys give each other treatments.
But okay, but like, what are we getting? We can't buy it from your website.
You can
We
buy the
can?
oils. Oh yeah, I've got oils on my website.
What product is that we
Well,
need to
there's
buy?
the lesser hair oil, which is the most common.
Okay.
That's the one that I was using in the salon all the time. But there's also other oils that are really nice. I made a little list of like the lesser hair oil and the hair renewal treatments. That has neem oil in it. A lot of people don't like the smell of neem, but neem is such an important material for helping to reestablish strong hair. So, in fact, I have a YouTube video on it. You can look it up, and
Ah,
how to do it and the whole bit.
okay.
Neem is one of my favorite materials. It's actually a sap from a tree. I believe it comes from India. And a lot of people use it all over their garden to get rid of pests and such. And you would never think that, and I find there's so many things that I find like neem that really work wonders on our skin and hair and is really, really good for it. So the hair renewal treatment helps to super hydrate. In fact, it works really well with the lesser hair oil. Like it's nice to put the lesser on first and then the hair renewal. The thing I would tell people is not to overuse, don't use too much. Don't get your hair so saturated that you aren't giving it the massage and the rub that it needs without too much oil can be too much, but there's directions and it explains how to use it. And you can bring hair back super fast. And I used to think you needed to do it once a week, but now I think it's more like once every 2 weeks to a month. I don't think it has to be done that often anymore, depending on your hair issues.
Maybe walk us through someone that should be doing this once a month versus someone that should be doing this once every few months. Like, what does that look like?
If somebody's like overcoloring their hair or lightening their hair, they probably need it every couple of weeks. It would put the hydration back in the hair and give them body again. But the trick is to massage it. You have to really work it into the hair. It's not like you put it on. We're so used to putting something on and not doing anything beyond that. This is about working it into the fabric of your hair.
Yes.
And some people could really get into that. I had clients that would just do a whole beauty treatment. I don't even know that I do that. But some people really enjoy doing their skin and their hair and, enjoying that whole thing, which is how the product should be used. It really should be used in that way.
I mean, I respect the people that do it to themselves, but I
Yeah.
greatly preferred when I went to the salon.
Yeah. Maybe you could find somebody to massage it really well into your hair. Even where I live, I think they're coming up with these little massage bars, that you can go to and people massage your hair.
Yeah, you have to bring your own product. You just have to bring your own stuff for that.
If you know a masseuse, maybe you can have them just work on your hair with the oils.
Oh,
And
all
that
right,
would be the
all
way
right.
to do it.
We can contemplate this. We're going to do a quick round of questions. I call it the quick fire round because it's quick. And you just answer the first thing that comes to mind. Okay?
Okay.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Favorite color?
Oh, geez. That's a hard one. I'm just going to say red for right now.
Okay. What? I like it. What was the first paying job that you ever had?
Oh, babysitting.
Many people have said this one. What is your favorite Linda Kammins product?
Oh, Shanghai shampoo. Yeah.
Okay. What's the favorite music genre to listen to while you're working?
Well, I was very much into the Indian flute, and I think that's probably still calming, beautiful, spiritual. I like that kind of vibe,
Yeah. Okay, I like that. What's the one app on your phone that you can't live without?
I don't know. That's not one I can think of right now.
Like calendar, messages, photos.
Oh, messages for sure.
Okay,
there
messages.
We go.
See, there you go. What's the one word that you would use to describe your business journey?
There's definitely a word for that. I mean, passion.
Passion. Okay,
Passion.
I love it. If you could have any entrepreneur as a mentor for a day only, who would it be?
I don't know about entrepreneurs. I don't know that I can think of one.
Maybe that guy in Manhattan.
Well, that would be great. I don't remember his name, but actually, if there was somebody out there that was into natural chemistry and health and all these wonderful things, yes, I would be very much interested in that.
Cool. Is there a book that has significantly influenced you?
I think that the Abraham teachings have been the most influential.
Okay, cool.
Right.
If you could instantly acquire one new skill, what would it be?
I don't know, probably something to do with sports, like skiing.
Okay. You want to know how to ski. I love it. If you could time travel to any period in history, what era would you visit?
It's probably not historically recorded.
Oh, that far back.
Yeah, well, maybe the Tartarian period.
That would be cool. With all the giants. I like it. Okay.
Right.
And if you weren't doing your products, what else would you be doing?
Actually, I'm very interested in all spiritual things and health, so it'd be along those lines. I'm really interested in expanding my mind and learning more about how the body works and chemistry and those kinds of things. And I'm actually doing that anyway. I always include that into what I do every day.
Your learnings.
Yes, I'm learning.
Okay, back to a few more questions. Thank you for the quick fire. I feel like a lot of people opt into clean beauty, right? So there's a lot of clean beauty. Do you think it's just a marketing thing? Let's start
Honestly, I do. I think it's just a marketing thing. It's just like a label that you can easily put on a product, and it's clickbait. It's just like gets people look at it and think that maybe this is it. But I think, people are getting smarter and they don't want to just look at a marketing idea anymore. I really think this is changing.
Do you think the easiest thing for someone to spot if they're looking at a clean label is if something has fragrance in it?
Yes. And the way things are also where they're sold and how they're sold, if you go into a beauty supply, you'll oftentimes see the shampoo and conditioner in the sun. And this is degrading a product. And that's where the chemicals start having byproducts of carcinogens, is by exposing them to the sun like that. even in the store, I had all my products behind doors, and I didn't have them displayed all over the place. I think that you have to know and how to care for your product. When you buy the oils, you don't want them out where the sun can hit it. You want those also in the cupboard and hidden away, in the dark. Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, I
Yeah.
think, that we don't think about is even though the sun is great, you don't want it to be doing some degradation to your product. So
And that happens all the time. That's when they get poisonous,
yeah, we
But,
don't want
this is all marketing again, because everything's out in the front, everything's there for you to see. And I don't know. I'm a lot more subtle about that because of the fact that you want to keep a healthy product.
right. Okay, so this is a question that came in from Instagram from one of our Fabulous Dean's List
Okay.
fans. They want to understand what can someone do to maintain healthy hair during perimenopause or just regular menopause?
All the things that we talked about earlier, giving yourself a good scalp massage. Also, too, it's really important to not wait for hair trims. I think people need at least every 2.5 months. If you're
Okay.
not having a thorough trim, you're going to have a lot of hair loss. So people usually start noticing their hair coming out. It's been 3 months since they had a haircut. And they don't realize it's because they need a trim. Not everybody's like that. Some people have fabulous hair that can grow forever, but most of us are dealing with, you've probably experienced it yourself. If you've gone too long, more hair comes out. And after you
Yep.
have a trim, it kind of stabilizes again.
That's an interesting one because I feel like people aren't necessarily paying attention to that one, Linda. Like that's
No, they
a
don't. No, especially people that want to grow their hair long. I mean, one of the things that I saw were people that would be going like forever. I used to do Sikhs, and they would have this really long hair. I always talked them into trimming their hair. They weren't supposed to, but it was like, it's so awful when you have all this dead hair on the ends. And your hair is also an antenna, it's a big part of our health, and so you don't want it just to be dead like that, and you're not going to get any beauty out of it if it's not trimmed properly. So you just need a good hairdresser that can trim properly, and a lot of times I used to see people trying to grow out a layered haircut into a bob or something, and then all this hair that's been growing for a really long time in the back, never got trimmed, would be all ratty, and especially if they color their hair,
Ooh, okay.
Right. So
All
you
right.
need a hair balancing. That's what I call it.
Hair balance. We need a hair balancing. Okay, I want to know, what does wellness mean to you, Linda?
It means a lot of things, like for instance, it means you have to know and be aware of the things you put in your mouth. You have to know and be aware of what kind of intake you're taking in, like as far as people around you. I mean, a lot of us just go to work and deal with the same hard things, and we're not taking into account that we are important and we need time for ourselves, and we need to rejuvenate ourselves, and we need time for all of that, because most people are just plowing through life, where money becomes the most important thing, and they forget about their health, and that's usually when they get sick.
Amen.
Right.
Okay. Do you have any like daily non-negotiables as it relates to your own wellness? So things that if you didn't do them, maybe the day isn't as good as it could be.
A cup of coffee.
That's it. That's it.
No, I like to do Tai Chi. I like to exercise. All those things are, I think, important. It's a very personal thing, but it does help to make happy hormones in the system, is caring for the body. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Is there something right now within beauty that you think is like really groundbreaking?
Yeah, I do. I think like the infrared saunas and all the red light therapy, I think that's really important. And as I talked before about the L-Reuteri yogurt, that bringing back those microbes into your gut are really important because they all got lost by the drugs that we've taken throughout our life, so you get your microbiome right, and you've got your planet working, then your forest and your your flowers are going to do much better. Yeah, your skin gets softer with Dr. Davis. People can look up Dr. Davis Williams, and he talks about the L-Reuteri. I started including that in my diet, so I would say that I do that every day. I think it's important.
Okay.
It does change your skin. It does change your hair.
Okay. We all need the right good bacterias to get things
we need
going.
The right good bacteria and eliminate sugar from the diet, and if possible, alcohol,
Right. Yes,
right.
alcohol. Is there something that you think has been overhyped within the beauty industry? So something where you're like, oh, that doesn't make sense at all.
Well, I would say plastic surgery. I find that frightening. You know, Botox. This is like insane. I mean, really, if people knew what they were doing, tugging and pulling at their skin like that, and then the Botox is pure poison, and it's making you swell. In the long run, you're going to have trouble. So I think that is overhyped, It's frightening, really, what we get talked into.
Yeah, because I mean, really, anyone that's doing any of the injectables, they're all the lab rats for it. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah,
So in terms of
absolutely.
I
And then
mean,
it's like, 20, 30 years later, oopsies, this caused a problem.
I think that's
So,
what I'm curious to see is like, okay, what is going to happen in 20, 30 years? Like, how will it manifest within the
yeah, and
body?
avoiding surgery at all costs, any kind of surgery, it's like, that's why you have to care for yourself so that you don't find yourself in that position. It causes too much scar tissue. And our body is this incredible system that operates off of frequencies. And that really puts a problem into it when you run into scar tissue.
Yeah. Okay. So you have nearly like 4 decades within the beauty world. I mean, you've talked a little bit about like the things that you're excited to see, like things that are on the horizon.
Right.
So perhaps you can kind of like package that up for all of us now. Like, what are the things that you think will have a major impact on consumers and how they approach beauty and wellness?
Well, consumers is a funny word. Um,
Okay,
you
I'll
know,
say humans, how humans approach beauty and wellness.
maybe if we consume less, we'll probably get somewhere. But
Yeah.
I think what's on the horizon is consciousness, people growing and expanding and understanding self care, and simpler methods and not looking for the hype, not looking for the thing that's going to fix them or I want to look good now. It's more like you have to cater to your needs and it's a slow process of change. And a lot of people don't want to be slow. They want it now. I think that's changing. After you make a few mistakes of now, then you're like, okay, I better slow this down and really take a better look at what life has to offer me and what I can do to improve my health and
Yeah.
my beauty. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Lots of things to contemplate with that, I think. What advice would you give to someone that's starting a business?
Love what you do and do what you love.
It's a
That's really
beautiful thing.
important because a lot of people try to project what the business is going to do for them. And if they were coming from a place of enjoying, then you can really get lost in enjoying your clients, get lost in enjoying to make people feel good. You're not looking at numbers.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably something that people don't talk about very much. It's usually about the bottom line and the numbers and do this, do that. But it's really the little things that make all the difference in learning and having a good life and running a business that people appreciate.
Well, we definitely appreciated your salon, that's for sure. You created
Right?
a
I always wanted to be a customer there, but
Oh, yes, I
never quite
understand
worked
this.
out for me.
Yeah, right. Is there anything that you and I did not talk about that you were hoping we were going to talk about?
I think you covered everything beautifully. I really don't know. You didn't leave a thing out as far as I'm concerned. And you brought a few things in there that I didn't even know about. I would just tell anyone who's listening, they can always email me, go to my website and my phone number, my email's there. And, just email me if you have questions about any products. It's interesting to watch people make their orders. And yeah, I can always tell because it's like I'll have a long time customer and then they'll be 3 months and they tried something else and they're back, because, commercial products just don't cut it. They just don't cut it. And
Nope.
there's no passion behind them. It's just
Corporation?
corporation. That's what I found. I really found it to be empty.
Your website it's lindakammins.com, right?
Exactly.
So lindakammins.com. Is
Mm-hmm.
there kind of like maybe a starting recommendation for people? So like, let's say they go to your website and they have maybe just like regular hair. So not
Just get shampoo and the conditioner, and just that alone, you'll see change. And then if you want to go deeper and you want to look into the oils and ideas like that, then I would start with the Lesser oil. If you have really dried out hair, then I would get the Lesser oil and the rejuvenation oil. Those two together work really well. And then go to my YouTube on the hair oil treatment.
We got to link that. Okay. And then you're not on social media, or are you?
I am, but it's been a long time. I mean, when I left the salon in 2020, I just took a sabbatical, and I haven't been, you're the first in 5 years, so it's exciting and it's fun to be talking again. But I really kind of just went into myself and went into, just a deeper understanding. I worked so long that I needed that sabbatical. And so I haven't. So maybe in the future, I'll start posting some more interesting things, but I haven't.
What is the social though? So people, if they want to,
there's an Instagram site that I haven't posted on in 5 years. So I think it's Linda Kammins Salon, I think, on Instagram. So probably social media will get boosted up again soon, but I've just really been out of the picture for a while and working on refining all the things that I make. And that's the fun part, It's just like, okay, now I've got time. I'm really going to work on this product and on the skincare product and all, so I'm really like kind of got that retirement attitude, which may change.
You're a chemist, Linda. You're a chemist. I encourage everyone to check out lindakammins.com and all of her magical products. And obviously, she gave you all an open invitation if you have questions to reach out to her. So I encourage you to do so. Linda, thank you so much for being on the Dean's List.
It's been so much fun. Thank you, Alison.
And thank you all for tuning into this episode of the Dean's List. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite platform to stay updated and follow us on Instagram at official_Dean's List and YouTube at It's Official Dean's List. I'm your host, Alison Dean. Until next time.